Hello, welcome. So glad that you guys made the time today to have another one of our Lunch and Learns. My name is Devonna Wicks. I am a parent educator and a mentor for child care centers at Campfire. We partner with UNT to offer a benefit to students and faculty here, helping with child care resource and referral and support with Lunch and Learns like this on different topics that are pertinent for you. Today's topic, helping your child deal with stress. You know, there's so much stress that our children deal with today more than ever before. And so giving them the tools and tips to really help them to succeed is what we're going to talk about today. So in front of you should have a copy of the handout slides as well as an evaluation form. If you would please fill out this evaluation form before you leave. Do we have any extra pens? We use these evaluations to know what topics are important to you. This topic came from an evaluation, so we want to make sure that we're meeting your needs. So our objectives for our class today. First, we're going to identify the causes, the signs, and the symptoms of stress in young children. We're also going to describe the behaviors of a resilient child. A resilient child is one who can handle stress better than others. And so we want to know, well, what can we do to help our child be that resilient child? Next, we're going to apply a parenting model that encourages resiliency and stress hardiness. Those are two skills that really help us to achieve and overcome stress. We're then going to learn relaxation techniques for helping your child cope with challenges and pressures. Help them to learn how to relax themselves so that they can better deal with the stress. So what is the definition of stress? Stress is the emotional, physical, and behavioral reaction to events, people, and the environment that places an extra demand on one's normal coping abilities. So you see, this really encompasses everything, emotionally, physically, behaviorally. So no wonder that children really need support when they're going through stressful times. Thank you so much. Next, stressors are the events and situations, elements that cause a person to feel overwhelmed, anxious, pressured, rejected, or frightened. So see, these are really real emotions that can affect their life, their school performance, their behaviors. But all stress is not bad. Good stress, just the right amount of pressure, is motivating. If our children and even ourselves didn't have some stress in our life, some deadlines, some things, we might be more procrastinating or become couch potatoes that just don't do anything. So some stress is good. So helping our children understand that all stress is not bad. Bad stress, that's the kind that's chronic and unrelenting. It's unpleasant and harmful. And so chronic means it is consistently happening, unrelenting, it never stops. And so if you have a child who's going through a chronic stress situation, major changes in life can be a chronic stress situation, death in the family, divorce, illness, new baby coming on, a new family member, these type of things cause a lot of stress for children. And so helping them to understand and better deal with it. Fears are also things that can contribute to stress. Some of the childhood main fears are absence of their primary caregiver. This can be due to death, divorce, or even a job change with the parent. Other fears that there will be a withdrawal of support from their primary caregivers, that if it's sudden, if There is a noise that will startle them. Being manipulated is a fear. Interruption of important activity. Restraint. No imposed controls. Inspection or being exposed. I'm fearful of that. Being or remaining small or too big. This is a real fear for children, that I'm going to always stay small. Or if I just happen to be 3 inches taller than the rest of my class, I'm always going to be, this big giant who's different from everybody. Being left out is a big fear for children. Deprivation of a valuable possession. So these are real fears that can lead to chronic stress in young children. So what are some of the signs of stress that we see in childhood? Well, of course, it's physical. That's usually what we see first. They have sleep difficulties. There's a loss of appetite. They're frequently having colds or headaches, stomach aches, lack of coordination, nervous tics. These are the symptoms you want to look for to see if your child is experiencing chronic stress. Emotional, mood swings, nervousness, crying, fear of going to school or being left alone, loss of interest in some activities that they typically enjoyed before, decrease in ability to concentrate. So you see, these stress indicators, just with the physical and emotional, could severely interfere with their success in achieving in school. And so we want to do everything we can to support them through this time. Behavioral, impulsiveness, angry outbursts, attention-getting antics, bedwetting, clinging. And most of these behaviors are typically looked at by the parent and or teacher or caregiver as annoying or obnoxious behaviors. And so if we look at these as, oh, this child is just doing this to get on my nerves, we're not supporting that child and saying, okay, this is a symptom of something even bigger. So what can I do to support this child in getting the needs that they need met? Recognize stress through change. In what ways is your child's behavior different? So if your child has not been behaving in any of these ways and suddenly you see these things are happening and it's happening more than just once, this is a repetition, this is definitely a red flag. We need to get underneath and find out, okay, what are the stressors that are causing this, and then how can I support them to get through this stress in their life? Oops, I'm sorry. So right now, I'd like to take a time. I said in groups of 3 or 4, but we just have a few that were able to come today. I'd like us to discuss what are some signs or symptoms of stress, and I'll go back to the next slide, that you may have seen in your child, other children, grandchildren, children that you've worked with or are related to. So let me go back to that next slide. Have you seen any physical changes? Sleep disruption, loss of appetite, frequent colds or headaches, stomach aches, and that's typically the younger children do complain of the stomach aches frequently when they're under a great deal of stress. Lack of coordination, nervous tics. So have you seen any of those symptoms in the children that you've worked with or have been around? How about emotional? Have you seen any of those? Emotional mood swings. Now, if you have a teenage daughter, that may be on a daily basis, so that's not a complete red sign that she's going through stress. That's just a teenage hormonal thing. I know, I have a 17-year-old daughter. All right, nervousness, crying, fear of going to school. That's another really big one. If they're going through big stress, suddenly I can't handle any other stress, and school is my one big source of stress, so I'm just going to say I don't want to go to school. And they may pretend sick or actually become sick because of the stress. So has anyone seen any of the emotional or the behaviorals. Okay. And then, of course, the behavioral is even more readily seen. The acting out, the impulsiveness, those angry outbursts, attention-getting antics, bedwetting, or clinging. Has anyone seen those?
What is attention-getting antics?
Great question. And attention-getting antics means things like you come in the door and they're, look at me, look at me, look at me, you know, I get this, or come here, come here, come here, come here. Or they're doing things like they know that this really annoys you if they throw their toys in the room. So they're throwing toys, or they're messing with the dog when they knew that you told them not to. Or they're doing things that are more of a negative behavior, but it's more to get that attention from their parent or their caregiver so that they are getting that need of attention getting met. But unfortunately, it tends to happen in a more negative way if the parent isn't understanding where this is coming from. Did I answer that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Why they act like they are very clingy?
Very clingy. That is a great question. Children that are very clingy, when I feel stressed or insecure, I know cognitively that I am not developmentally ready to handle this on my own. So I'm naturally going to cling to the adults in my life because I'm feeling like, okay, I just don't know how to deal with this right now, but I don't know how to communicate that. So my behavior is going to communicate that to you. And so I'm going to hold on to you. You're going to say, oh, go play with your friends. No, I want to stay with you. You know, that's a clingy type of behavior, which is not normal. A normal child would want to go and play with their friends. And so that's the type of clinginess that this is talking about. It's connected with stress. Unknown situations cause stress in children, and so they may be more clingy. What happens is a vicious cycle. So if the parent's like, no, go play with your friends, you know, and they're rejecting, not consciously, but they're trying to push the child to do something, that causes the child to be more clingy. And then it becomes this very vicious cycle. So what best case scenario would be for a parent or a teacher who's dealing with a child who's showing a lot of clinginess due to the stress, the chronic stress that's happening, is to meet that child's needs through reassurance, through teaching techniques that we're going to talk about today to help that child deal with the core issue, which is the issue of stress. Once that child has been able to relax and feel, okay, I can handle this, then that child can move away from the clinginess. But not until that child has the skills that they need to be able to deal with this stressful situation will that clinginess stop. So the more we push, the more they'll hold on to. So that's something we'll talk about too later. Great question. What can we do to support that? All right. So the parents play such an important role with the children during this stressful time. We can help the children learn that stress is an experience, and how can I use it for the future? How can I learn from this to be able to handle it next time? They can show their children how to stay calm when facing challenges. Calm. And we can teach relaxation techniques and stress-reducing games to their children. And right now we're going to do one right now to help the children. This is part of the conscious discipline. If you're interested in more of the conscious discipline, I can get you more resources on that. There is a website on it as well. It's www.consciousdiscipline.com, so it's pretty simple. All right, so this is the first technique. We want to teach children how to be able to breathe deeply. And, you know, children don't just know how to breathe deeply. It's something we have to teach. So for our younger children, our preschool age and younger, I have tools that I take to the classrooms and for the parents to teach. So to help our child learn how to breathe in, I have a plastic flower, so we'll pretend this is our plastic flower, and a pinwheel. So we'll pretend this is our pinwheel. So to breathe properly, we breathe in the flower through our nose, and we blow the pinwheel. Breathe in the flower, breathe out the pinwheel. And this teaches them how to properly breathe. And so we can have a plastic flower and a pinwheel. You can do this, you can breathe with me. Breathe in, blow the pinwheel. And that helps them. Another technique is by teaching them fun ways to breathe. So we're going to do the balloon. So we're going to pretend that we're a balloon. So we're going to interlace our fingers, and we teach our children to pretend they're a balloon. And we're going to do it 3 rounds. So we're going to breathe in through our nose and out our mouth 3 times. Here we go. That was 1. That was 2. And here's 3. And so we're teaching them how to calm themselves through breathing techniques. And children have to be taught this. They don't naturally just know how to relax. So we'll say, oh, I feel so much better when I breathe. And as adults, we know when we're feeling really stressed out, taking those deep breaths can get that oxygen into our brain so we really can have more rational thoughts. Excuse me. Not that I was supposed to say. Instead of those irrational thoughts. So we want to support our children with that. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I'm suffering with allergies today. All right, which can be very stressful too, right? So what can help our children? Helping them to understand that stress is a positive force. Stress keeps everything moving in the world, deadlines and different things. Teach children conflict resolution skills. Give children some control in their life through choices and consequences. So how we help our children to feel like they have some type of control in their lives. Because this is typically where we have a lot of the conflict. I feel like I don't have any choice here. I didn't choose whether I go to this child care center or not. I didn't get to choose what school I go. Sometimes I don't get to choose what clothes I wear today, what I had for breakfast. You know, these type of things can cause a lot of internal stress for a child, and they may act out and have some of those behavioral issues just because they're feeling out of control. And so if a chronic stress activity is going to be a major change in life, divorce, death in the family, illness, things like that, it can add to that. And so if I don't feel like I have any controls in my life, I'm really going to act out now. And so ways that we can support them is through the 2-choice discipline model. And so the 2-choice discipline model is this. You see this challenge you're having with your child. So let's say picking up their toys. And so you say, Johnny, would you like to pick up the toys by yourself, or would you like me to help you? 2 positive choices. The toys are going to still get done. Or would you like to pick up the toys before dinner or after dinner? Either way, the toys are going to get picked up, but they get to choose when they're going to get done. So you look at ways that you can let them have some flexibility, some sense of ownership, some sense of independence in making this choice for themselves. We're also teaching them that when I make positive choices, I have positive consequences. If I refuse to make a positive choice, then there will be negative consequences. And then comes, the removal of privileges or timeout or, those different things that have to follow up. But those are never part of the 2 choices. We don't say, do you want to clean up your toys or go to timeout? That would be a consequence. So the 2 positive choices would be giving them 2 positive things that they can choose from that ultimately get to a goal. So like, do you want to pick up your toys before dinner or do you want to pick up your toys after dinner? Those are 2 positive choices that are getting the same goal happening. Did you have another question?
You just answered.
I just answered it. Wonderful. All right. So these are ways we really can support the children in that. Help children view stress as a positive force. When the parent focuses on the positive during conflicts or stressful events in their own lives, they are role modeling this to the child. So remember, as adults, as teachers, as grandparents, as parents, as step-parents, we are that constant role model to the child. So if the parents use the two-choice discipline model, and parents redirect using positive choices or alternatives for that child. Teach children how to handle stress. Give them the language to understand their emotions. And many times if a child is acting out and throwing a temper tantrum, and you know this is just coming from a stressful situation that's happening, you can say that to them. Your body's telling me that you're feeling really stressed out right now. You're very unhappy that mommy's having to work late, or daddy got sick, or daddy's not here. Whatever the situation, you can voice that to the child and say, but you know what? You're going to be okay. We'll work together. We'll support you. Kids ultimately want to hear that someone recognizes how I feel, and there's someone that's going to support me to help me get through this. That's what kids want to know. So, give them the language. During a conflict situation, during meal times, during routine activities, children encouraged to talk through or explain their reasoning when solving problems will be better equipped to handle it next time. Example, why they sorted objects into different groups, why the pictures are the same or different. So when you're asking them during their play to explain to you why they did something in their play, they will be better equipped to explain to you why they did something in their anger or in their stress. So we practice with them when they're up here in their happy place, and then we also can practice. So even at meal times, we can talk about it. So, let's say that you got really mad at me because I asked you to pick up your toys before dinner and you still wanted to play. Let's talk about that. Instead of throwing your toys or throwing yourself on the floor and having a temper tantrum, what could be a better choice that you could make? So you can talk about these at different times when they're not in that stressful moment. When they are in the stressful moment, you can support them many times just by naming the emotion they're going through will help their stress go down. I see you're really stressed right now. Is there anything I can do to make you feel better? Many times if we just say that to our children, it completely diffuses that anger that is connected to that stress that they're feeling at that moment. Another thing we want to look at and consider is managing your own stress, because again, we are that role model for the children. The most important step you can take to help your child manage their stress is to manage your own. If they see you when you're stressed, just, lose it verbally or throw things, slam doors, stomp out of the room, they're getting the message that this is okay for me to do when I'm upset and I'm feeling stressed. So remember, if that ever happens, if you do an oops because you are stressed or angry, it's okay to go back to your child and say, you know what, mommy made a oops. That wasn't the best way to handle. I was really, really stressed, but you know what, I forgot to breathe. Next time, will you help mommy remember to do the balloon? Or the pinwheel, or however you want to call it. Have them understand, sometimes we make mistakes too, and that's okay. There's always tomorrow, but this is not the best way, and this is not what I want to role model for you. All right. So we were going to do this as a small group, but we'll just talk about it. Discuss what causes you stress in your life, and then take an item from the bag. So we don't have time today since we started, so we will just skip that. All right. What we want to really talk about now is the important part of giving our children the techniques and skills and tools that they can really help them to handle stress. Because everyone's going to have stress. It looks different for everybody, but we all need to have skills to learn how to better handle it. So we're going to talk about the Stay Hardy Street and the Just-in-Time Avenue. How do these things help us and then help our kids? So number one, we've got to lead by example. We've got to stay on that hardy street by eating a nutritious diet, getting enough sleep, be physically active every day, know your limits, know that it's okay to say no sometimes, be with people who give you pleasure. We have found, studies have shown that couples in a happy marriage tend to live 5 to 10 years longer than others. Couples in an unhappy or stressful marriage, actually the opposite is true. So you want to make sure that you're really providing that happy environment for yourself as well as for your children. Have fun. This is an important thing. It's okay to have fun. In fact, it's important to have fun. They found that laughing is one of the wonderful remedies to stress. And so if you can find ways to have fun, bring humor, bring joy into your home, it will help you and it will help your children get through the stressful time. And then, of course, get support when needed. If this is just a really chronic, stressful time in your life or your family's life, you may need some additional support to help you and your children get through it. Then the Just-in-Time Avenue, a path for facing challenges. Do you ever feel like that? Oh, this is just such a tough time right now. So number one, you want to practice relaxation exercise to counter the stress response and role model that in front of your children. You want to identify your emotions and thoughts. Right now, I'm feeling really stressed because I feel out of control with what's happening right now. And that's okay to say that. And know that it's okay to feel stressed about this, but how am I going to deal with it? Adjust your perceptions. Many times that chronic stress is linked to our perception that this is never going to end. And so if we have this mentality, this is never going to end, it will add to the chronic stress and it will make the symptoms even worse. Maintain a calm and positive outlook. Understand that this is probably just a season in your child's life or a season in yours, and that you guys are going to grow stronger through this and get to the other side. Know what you can and can't control. I was a single mother for 6 years, and there were some times I felt a great deal of stress, trying to be that father and mother, trying to do everything at home, trying to be everywhere, and I had to learn to not sweat the small stuff. And so one of the things that I did to manage my stress is to tell myself, you know what, when my children get older, they're not going to remember that I had a magazine, perfect-looking house, but they are going to remember that I took time to be with them. And so I did say, you know what, I'm going to have dishes in the sink, that's okay. But I'm going to go to the park with my kids, or I'm going to go to their school program, or we're going to go on this outing. And so many times you have to just find that balance, what's really going to make your goals happen in the end. Again, we want to lead by example. You know, we actually have more control than we believe we do. Do you know it's true that no one can make you be angry? They may do things that push your buttons, but you have the choice to decide how you're going to deal with that. If you're going to throw a temper tantrum, or if you're going to go in the room and deep breathe. You know, we have the choices of how we deal with it. So by traveling that stress-hardy street, maintaining healthy habits that keep us strong physically and mentally, and by traveling the just-in-time avenue, we utilize proven strategies that enable us to counter the stress responses, adjust our perceptions, problem solve, and stay positive for that model for our children. So the crossover is when the child sees this on a consistent basis, we then are showing our children how to be that resilient child. We're passing these skills on to the children that we love. And these are the skills that a resilient child has. A loving relationship with at least one adult. So if there's just one loving adult in this child's life, they can become a resilient child. A belief in one's effectiveness and ability to improve the situations. Seeing this is not a forever deal. This is something we can overcome together. The ability to act independently, learning that I can take care of myself. That clinginess will start ebbing away when I'm feeling more secure. Using that two-choice discipline model supports that in helping me to feel independent and make good choices on my own. A belief that he or she is lovable and worthwhile. And this we do in the words that we say to our children, the physical touch that we give our children really speaks, the time we spend with our children speaks value to the quality that we want with that relationship with them. Also, a resilient child has a well-developed social, problem-solving, and decision-making skills. Now, isn't that something we want for all of our children, to be able to have these skills to be a successful adult? So, here are the factors that can help foster that resiliency in your child. Number one, because you know we are all so interconnected, those healthy health habits. Sufficient sleep. School-age children need to get at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night. Younger children, 10 to 12 hours. Our preschool children need 12 to 14 hours a night. So we really want to make sure we're meeting that need. Sleep deprivation can really make it impossible for them to be able to sufficiently handle stress. Having good nutrition, healthy foods, exercise, limited time with technology. That screen time, we really want to limit. TV time, computers, iPads, smartphones, those type of things we really want to limit with our young children. The Pediatric Association has recommended no screen time for children ages 2 and younger. And for our preschool ages, only 30 minutes a day. For our young elementary students, only 1 hour a day. And our elementary schools, no more than 2 to 3 hours. So you see, the majority of our children in America are getting way more screen time than what is recommended. And that can really lead to the children not gaining the skills that they need to be successful. And I have a whole training on TV and TV violence and the young brain. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, just give me a shout out. We'll be glad to schedule that. All right, next. Routines and schedules, and the younger a child is, the more important the routines and schedules. But for all of our children, school age and down, having consistent bedtimes, having bedtime rituals, having consistent dinner times, and what happens next after dinner, and what happens before bed, these type of routines and schedules make a child feel safe. And if I feel safe, I can handle stress better. And so looking at ways that our schedules are really meeting the children's needs. Clear, reasonable, and consistent rules that are enforced without anger. I tell my parents and my teachers, please tell the children what you want them to do, especially our younger children. If you're focusing on, don't hit the dog, don't slam that door, don't throw your toys. Well, we've just told the child what we don't want them to do. We haven't given them positive replacement behavior. So soft hands, close the door softly, please. You know, these are type of things that are going to help the child with clear, consistent rules to know what the expectations are. Always make sure that we give positive feedback to our children when we see them doing that positive behavior. That really motivates them to continue with that positive behavior. Parental involvement in the child's life. The more that we can really get involved with the children, the more beneficial it is for the children. So even in times of separation or divorce or job schedules, if we can look at ways that we can really maximize our time with the children, let them know that they are still a priority in our life, it really helps them to feel calm and safe and better about any changes that has happened. Shelter from concerns that might be too threatening because of age or sensitivity. This is a pitfall that many parents fall into. They share too much of the adult stresses with their children. They really need to shelter the children. Do not share unless it's really pertinent to that child and that child needs to know. So, and even with that, be very careful how you word it. All right, here's some more factors that foster resiliency. Having energetic, passionate, and a fun approach to life. So this is again something that we can foster by role modeling. Talking about fears, concerns, worries, and problems, listening to stories about children coping with challenges, and these wonderful things can happen at dinner. I highly recommend, if you don't do a group sit-down dinner time, that you make that a priority to add into your schedule and routine. It is very valuable for the children to have that connection where all electronics are put away, all phones are put away. We're becoming unplugged so we can reconnect again. And what other wonderful time do we have that opportunity to reconnect with our children? One-on-one, eye-to-eye, across the table, enjoying a meal together. It could be at home, it could be at a restaurant, it could be at a picnic at the park, wherever. It needs to happen as often as possible. I do have a rule at my home. You know, other meals, you know, it could be crazy, but dinner, we always are sitting down, and there is a no iPad, no smartphone rule at the table. I even took a shoebox and colored bars on it. It was the iPhone jail. If someone brought it it had to go into the phone jail and set up on top of our piano until dinner was finished. So we really could have that opportunity to connect and talk, and it's a very valuable time for a family. And believe it or not, even my teenagers have looked forward to being able to have a time. I know now I have mom and dad's one-on-one attention. I know now that I have my family's attention because we're all giving each other the same respect. Struggling with some measure of frustration while teachers and parents offer support. So this is a really great opportunity that can also happen around the dinner table or different times. We can find out what struggles, what frustrations are you dealing with at school, and let's talk about it. And the more I can talk about it, I can hear other perspectives, I can hear other solutions, and this helps me to learn to be a problem-solving child. Classroom and home environment that is relatively free of loud noises and yelling. So if there is an overstimulation through music or classroom noises in the classroom, this is actually going to contribute to a higher level of stress with the children, even in the younger ages. So there for years in the early child care setting, it was believed that to have piped in or CD music playing constantly in a loud volume was really good for children's brains. But what we have found is the opposite is true. Music used at a specific particular intention for music movement or to calm the room down or to liven it up when, right after nap, very positive. But just to have that background music on constantly actually increases the child's negative behaviors because it increases their stress, and it limits that valuable language opportunity because there's just so much distractions happening. For our school-age children, if there is loud noises in the home, if there's just constant noise in the classroom or in the home setting, loud music playing all the time, it's very interfering for me to be able to find that calm place inside where I can learn to self-regulate, learn to deep breathe. So looking at really making our homes and our classrooms that safe environment for our children. Here are the stress management techniques that we talked about. The first one is visualization. When they talk about their problems, we can help them visualize different solutions that can really help them. Next is the deep breathing. These are the icons from the conscious discipline. The star is stop, take a breath, and relax. So the star is actually an acronym. S for stop, T for take a breath, A for and, R for relax. So stop, take a breath, and relax is our star. Our older children, many times that can clip in there, okay, I need to stop myself before I throw this toy or have an angry outburst. The balloon is the one that I role modeled, where we deep breathe with the balloon. The pretzel is one where they give themselves a hug for the younger ones as a pretzel, or they pretzel their arms like this and then do the 3 deep breathing. So there's different ways that we can make it fun and yet really teach that skill of learning how to self-regulate myself, get back in a calm place for my head through deep breathing and relaxation techniques. Roles to play when facing stressful situations with our school-age children. This is really great. Even our older pre-Ks, we can do this. All right, so you were very upset. This is a preschool child. You were very upset because Jaden took your toy. And the teacher said you hit Jaden because he took your toy. Well, let's think. Next time Jaden or another child takes your toy, you know we can't hit. So what could you do next time? So see, we're talking about it. For a school-age child who maybe had an outburst of anger or withdrew or is having something, you can talk about it. All right, so next time when you're feeling this stress, what would help you? Can you come to me and talk about it? Can you deep breathe? Can you give yourself the pretzel? You talk to them about it. And so when they're in a higher place, they're not so stressed out, I can think about, okay, what could I do next time? And so these type of role-playing and discussions really support that. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this has been helpful to you in supporting your child. Please remember to fill out our evaluations. Let us know what topics are important to you, what resources you need, and please email us and help us to know how we can better support you. Thank you so much.